In the world's greatest country, in its most pivotal state, lies Pennsylvania's Lehigh Valley, an economic hub that's as vibrant as it is ideologically eclectic. Its just over 700,000 residents will play a critical role in deciding the course of American leadership and thereby the world. Who are the thinkers, workers, and leaders that will decide our collective fate? Join me, Moshe Kurtz, as I walk through the valley and find out. Thank you, my friends, for joining me today as I walk through the valley with Mr. Antonio Pineda, who serves as a Lehigh County Commissioner representing District 1. Antonio, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Now, I know that you are a native to the Lehigh Valley, unlike myself. You graduated from Whitehall High School. You live with your wife, Carrie, in Whitehall Township. And listeners might recall that a number of episodes ago, we actually had on a Whitehall Township Commissioner, Taylor Stakes. And I actually want to start right there because we've had a township commissioner on in the past. You are a county level commissioner. I'm just curious, is there anything fundamentally different between a township commissioner versus county commissioner, just like the next step up the corporate ladder, so to speak?
They're very different. So townships deal with, obviously, zoning, that we don't deal with zoning at all at the county level. Townships, deal with the roads in the township that are, not state roads. County doesn't own any roads. We own bridges, but not roads. And we deal with completely different services. So we are doing human services, the judiciary, law and order. We have the sheriff's department, district attorneys, the judges, court of common pleas, the public defender's office. We both, the one thing that we both have is like a parks department, townships and the county, but they're separate.
Parks and Recreation Department?
Yeah.
I mean, that's my whole education of municipal governorship basically comes from Parks and Recreation.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
I don't know if you ever watched that one.
A little bit. I gotta be honest with you, I'm not a huge TV person. I have a really hard time keeping up with continuity when it comes to TV. So I've always been more of a movie person.
No, that's fair. You just want to do a one shot and that's it.
Yeah. I have friends that are really into TV shows and they're like, oh, did you see the latest episode? Or they'll watch 12 episodes at once, and that's just not. It's just never been a thing for me.
Well, I do know that you are a Superman fan, and yes. we will get there soon. Yes. I'm just gonna whet everyone's appetite with that little piece of knowledge.
Yeah. But when it comes to township versus county commissioners, the one thing that we have similar in this area is we both have part-time boards. Mm-hmm. So townships, Whitehall, for instance, is a home rule township. We're a home rule charter county. Depending on your township class, you have different because number of members on your board.
So what does that mean to be home rule as opposed to?
As opposed to what the state dictates in their codes. Mm-hmm. So for the county, it's most counties in the Commonwealth follow the county code where they have 3 full-time commissioners.
Right.
There are 7 home rule charter counties in Pennsylvania, and then there's Philadelphia, which has its own unique structure. And all 7 are different. And the main thing is what I talk about Philadelphia is it's how you structure. So you basically structure your government a little differently. You have the same responsibilities, you have the same powers. You're structured differently. So instead of having 3 commissioners, like let's say Berks County has, mm-hmm. and they're both the legislator and the executive branch, we have a county executive and a board that is the legislator.
Wow.
So, and then they have all the row offices. We don't have a prothonotary. We don't have a treasurer, things of that nature.
My head still continues to spin as I try to comprehend townships versus city governance versus county level and state level. But the listeners are just coming along for my journey as I attempt to educate myself. That's pretty much what this is.
Yeah.
But I do know, as you mentioned, that being a commissioner is a part-time gig that you're involved in.
Yeah.
I know that you graduate Columbia University, have a degree in earth and environmental engineering, and you also work in the cement industry.
Correct. Yep.
So are you generally like working on the sidewalks, or what's your day-to-day look like?
No, so that's there's a difference between cement and concrete, which we that's always like the first interview question.
Oh,
for a job in the
I didn't even realize there was.
Yeah. So I kind of think of it like this. So concrete is the cookie, and cement is the dough, and then you put the chips in, but chips are not, everything goes in to the cookie. So cement is an ingredient in concrete.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay, now I feel like we need to pause the podcast and take a coffee break because I'm getting really hungry from this discussion.
Yes, I've worked in the cement industry directly for, I'm going on 7th year now, and then in consulting I did stuff mostly for cement plants for another 6.
Amazing. So what took you from the cement industry to wanting to become a commissioner for the county?
I've always been interested in local government and in just, being really involved in my community. It's funny. So I had a teacher in high school, shout out Mr. Adams, who I admire so much. I told him when I was going to study in college, he's like, "You're going to be in politics." Like, "Are you sure you don't want to study poli-sci?" It's like, "No, I'm good." He knew where I was going to school too, so he probably thought, "Oh, that makes sense, political science." I was like, "No, I'm studying engineering," and at the time I was like, "No, I'm not going to do that." And it was funny when I ran for county at large in 2019, which I was unsuccessful in. Learned a lot of lessons from that. I met with him. And he's like, "See, I told you." It was funny, but yeah, I just I kind of view things in a way of you only live once. Mm-hmm. I want to do as much as I can. And help, and if I can help my community as much as I can, that's a win for me. It's
I mean, I know
I don't want to go home every day and just sit there and watch TV. I want to contribute as much as I can.
Absolutely. Now, I do know that you don't watch a lot of TV, but you are into the Superman comics, apparently.
Yeah.
Our audience, or our listeners, I should say, do not see it, but I see next to you, you brought quite a few issues along to show me. I'm curious if there's anything our listeners should know about.
Yeah. So I wanted to share this with you because we did talk about this. I'm actually more of a Batman fan, I'll be honest, which is, he's more popular at this point in time. I grew up.
Superman always seemed like a little bit more straightforward. He has all these powers, and the only thing that could stop him is kryptonite. So you kind of know where every plot line is going to go.
Yeah. When I was younger, that's how I kind of viewed it too. Like, when you're growing up and you're a teenager, and you're just like, oh, Superman's boring. You think he's boring, and then as the older I get, the more I appreciate Superman and I like Superman more. And also, it's funny. I'm bonding with my daughter over this because when I grew up, I was born in 1991, so it was right when the Michael Keaton Batman movies were really becoming a huge deal.
Oh yeah,
Batman the Animated Series came out. That was my life. Like I had this one T-shirt that my mom said the amount of times I had to wash that was just it is insane. If you watch home videos, I'm wearing the same Batman T-shirt. Everything was Batman. My daughter's doing the same thing with Superman. My daughter loves Superman.
Not Supergirl, Superman.
Superman, yeah. I even asked her, I was like, "Do you like Supergirl?" And she's like, "No." I was like, "Superman, yeah." Like yesterday, I was like, "Okay." And she calls him Man. I don't know why. I think she struggles saying super at this age because she's only 2, but she loves Superman, and I'm bonding with her over that. And it's kind of coinciding with over the past probably 10 years or so, I've gained more of an appreciation for Superman. He's a very, very complex character and honestly a beautiful character. And I always, in these times like this, I'm going to say it straight out. You've probably noticed people are really into anti-heroes right now.
Yes. I mean, in the fantasy world, there's what's called, I think, the grimdark genre, which you have all of these flawed good guys, and you have all of these, redeemable bad guys and there's a lot of moral gray area. I mean, I think there was a great New York Times column which distinguished between George R. R. Martin, author of Song of Ice and Fire, and Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings, you kind of know who the good guys and bad guys are.
Oh, yeah.
The bad guys literally called the Dark Lord.
Yeah.
You kind kind of like self-identifies as that. But
like a pure embodiment of evil kind of thing.
Yeah, like neutral evil if we're using like the D&D morality system. But, you know, in the Song of Ice and Fire, for, you know, obviously there's some flaws along the way I'm not going to get into, but the idea of there basically not always knowing, it's always clear who the protagonist and who the antagonist is. But anyway, I cut you off.
No, you're good. But all I was going to say is I was actually in Western Pennsylvania. And when I travel, I try to find if there's a comic book store in the area, just like check it out. And it was startling to me that, and it makes sense, but the comic book store was all in the front Deadpool stuff, which was 20 years ago. I would have never thought that. You know, obviously Deadpool's a very popular character, but I never thought that he would be like front and center popular.
Well, he has this shtick that he breaks the fourth wall.
Yeah.
People tend to like that.
Yeah, he's entertaining. He's very well written, very entertaining. But like there seems to be this, people are really into anti-heroes right now, and Superman's the opposite.
Yeah.
It's very clear. He's like everything, the embodiment of heroic. And I think in a lot of ways, people should aspire to be more like Superman and not Deadpool. And sometimes I don't think we see that. So you should want to be Superman.
Yeah.
But he's a very complex character. He is he's actually a Moses allegory.
Interesting.
Yeah,
okay, you've piqued my interest.
Yeah. So you know, he was sent away from home when his plant was dying. Somewhere to Moses down the river.
Right.
Found by people that were not his people.
Yeah.
Egyptians. Yeah. Raised in that society. So it's that he was created by two Jewish authors. So there's sense. I think you can correct me. I think his name Kal-El is Hebrew.
Oh, well, El is usually a name of God.
Yeah.
So yeah, it could come from that as well. I mean, the other analogy, which I thought you were going to say, that I'm actually pleasantly surprised by the biblical analogy, is Dragon Ball Z, in which it's basically the same thing with the protagonist Goku, who escapes his dying planet and comes to Earth. And I think I'm not sure who copied from whom, but there's been some investigation into that. Yeah. But I like the idea that you're saying, which is nowadays people seem to want to emulate these flawed characters. And it is interesting because it does reflect more the human condition, that we are imperfect beings, but maybe it's good to go back to the originals where there are just these good people with good traits who are noble individuals, and we should be putting them up on the pedestals.
Superman is the embodiment. He is an alien who's not from this world, but he's the most human character possible. Wow. He's the embodiment of everything that's good in humanity.
Right. I mean, to the point that there's a certain naivete, which you're more well-versed in the storylines than I am, but he's more easily manipulated by those who are weaker than him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's very trusting of people. He sees the good in everyone. There's a few good lines that, not a great show. It's not a great show, but I think The Adventures of Lois and Clark with Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher. There's a line in that's so perfect. Just to say, he identifies as Clark Kent first.
Right.
The quote is, Clark Kent is who I am. Superman is what I can do. And I think that's really important. It's kind of the opposite of Batman, where Batman identifies as Batman first. Bruce Wayne died in Crime Alley when he was 8 years old.
Right.
Superman is Clark Kent. He's Clark Kent before he's Kal-El.
Right.
And then when you say with the being good thing, it's perfect timing, because they just showed a clip from the new Supergirl movie where he meets Supergirl for the first time. Obviously, the movie hasn't come out yet, but they showed a part where they explain, quickly how she gets her suit and why it matches his. And it's just so Superman. He goes, I know it's really colorful, but that's to tell everyone that we're good.
Nice and on the nose. Yeah. I like that.
So I do have a few here. Obviously, people listening can't see them, but these are some things that I got recently. I do collect comic books. I don't have a huge collection. I have a friend that actually lives down the street that has a whole room just of Batman stuff. I collect mostly Batman, Superman, and Green Lantern too. I really like Green Lantern.
And just to describe for our listeners, you have these comic books that they're framed. They're in protective frames.
Yes.
So they're highly valuable, I take it.
To me.
Sentimentally.
But these are ones I've gotten recently. I tend to focus on Silver Age books. So that's like before the mid 70s, after the Comics Code came into effect in the 50s. I have some Golden Age books that are really hard to find because they were made to be thrown out.
Wow, there's some terms you're throwing out that I'm not even familiar with.
I apologize.
I imagine one day, when you're done with the, the cement or concrete, whatever it was, cement, and done with the commissioner job, you should teach a course in comic books at one of our local arts colleges.
I would not be good at that. There's people that know way more than me, but so some of these are things that I got recently that I thought were pretty cool to me. So I have Action Comics 340, which is actually the first appearance of Parasite.
Huh. That's a Superman nemesis.
Yes. Yeah. So he absorbs powers.
Isn't there like an X-Men analog for that?
There's
Rogue.
Rogue does that. Yeah. So this was 1967.
Wow.
And, so that's the first. That's like the first Parasite. There's been 3 of them.
Oh, you're a real collector.
Yeah. This is cool to me. Not Superman related, but I brought it because it's cool to me. This is a page from Batman number 7 in 1941.
Wow. So like you collect a single page.
A single page. It's Batman number 7.
Oh, the 7th Batman issue ever.
Of the Batman title, because there's a Detective Comics title too.
That's right. There were different iterations of Batman.
This is the oldest full issue I have. This is World's Finest 19. This came out in 1945.
1945.
It is in horrendous condition, so I apologize for that.
It looks really good to me. 1945.
Yeah, it's got the binder. The cover is detached, and some pages are detached, but everything's there.
Amazing.
And then I got 2 Golden Age Superman books I got recently. Number 93 and number 86. Nothing really significant about them, but they're just old, and they were late 40s.
Look, these are great collector's items, and I think what I'll do is for the listeners, I'll snap a few photos.
Absolutely.
So those who follow us on social media, they'll be able to see some of these things that we're actually talking about in the podcast. You got one more issue. One more.
And this one got kind of tied all together for me. So this is a key issue. It's not extremely old. It's old. It's 50s. So it's Superman 158. As I mentioned, I'm actually more of a Batman fan. Do you know the character Nightwing?
Yeah, isn't he? He's like one of the Robins.
Yeah, he was the first Robin, Dick Grayson. He was the original Robin until the 80s when he.
So he's a Batman sidekick.
Yes, yeah. So all the really old Batman stories that have Robin in them. That's Dick Grayson, who eventually became.
I watched the Injustice video game cutscenes all the way through because it's basically one long movie.
Yeah.
So I have some knowledge of this.
So
I hope our listeners are fine indulging this. Sorry, guys, if you're not a sci-fi fantasy nerd.
Yeah. So this is where Nightwing got his name.
Mm-hmm.
So Dick Grayson and Clark Kent, Superman, are very close. It's kind of like your godfather uncle relationship.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So in this issue, Superman goes to Kandor, which is one of the ballad city of Kandor, which is one of the 3 Kryptonian cities that they really talk about. Argo City is where Supergirl's from. Then there's Cryptopolis.
Wait, I thought Krypton was destroyed.
It was, but the city of Kandor is preserved in a bottle.
Oh, that's convenient.
Comic books. And then there's stories about Brainiac that involved this later on. Brainiac wasn't even around at this point.
Oh,
so he goes to Kandor, and he becomes like a vigilante, and he names himself Nightwing. And then later, when Dick Grayson's trying to think of his name for not being Robin anymore and becoming his own hero, him and Superman have a conversation, and he goes, "Why don't you use the name Nightwing?" 40 years later, it got referenced. So that's the first mention of that name.
Look, that's there's a whole, what we call in Hebrew, a Masorah, tradition that seems to be in these comics. I really love how you're tying things across the decades together.
Continuity gets very, 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 very weird in DC Comics.
Well, anytime there's a problem, they just make up a new universe. And
they reboot.
They reboot everything. So that's why I personally can't get too much into it, because I just lose the continuity at a certain point. But okay, so I know also that when you're not doing like the comic book stuff, you also are apparently involved in the Lehigh Valley Zoo.
Yeah, so I'm the liaison from the Board of Commissioners to the Lehigh Valley Zoo, in addition to the Lehigh County Conservation District, which I'm very passionate about. So the zoo obviously is in Schnecksville. It's between North Whitehall and Lowell Township.
Oh, that's how you pronounce it. Okay.
Yeah, Schnecksville.
Okay, I always put into Google Maps, but I we're members at the zoo. We love bringing our kids over there, and they recently for Memorial Day weekend they had this come meet the princesses from Frozen and whatnot.
So our with the winter lights too.
Oh yes, I mean our girls loved it. It's just such a great zoo, and like for younger kids, it's not like the Bronx Zoo where you can get lost in it. For the New Yorkers who are listening, it's just one circle. You can't. And now they have a new playground.
Yeah.
They've done fantastic things. So
they do amazing things there. My daughter's there 2 times a month at minimum. She loves the zoo. We're obviously members as well.
I think it's obligatory if you have kids and you're in the Lehigh Valley. It's like
great.
How do you not have membership?
It's fantastic. See, it's in our Trexler Nature Preserve, which is honestly
it's like a safari.
One of the
time you
greatest
go to
in Lehigh County. Rick Mulchaney, the former director of General Services, always said, he's so right. Lehigh County does not have a state park. We do it on our own.
Huh.
But we have such incredible assets. Leaser Lake is incredible. Jordan Park's incredible. But yeah, Trexler Nature Reserve, there's nothing like it. And the zoo's in it. The county is a landlord to the zoo. But
so you guys rent out the zoo to the zoo?
It's our land technically.
Uh-huh.
It's the county's land, but they're their own nonprofit.
Well, on behalf
they own all the exhibits and everything.
On the behalf of us simple citizens, thank you for making this possible for us.
Well, don't thank me. Thank commissioners in the past. Particularly, I know someone that really fought for it, because at one time, believe it or not, there was a decent push to close it.
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty controversial at one point. And my predecessor, who was not in my position at the time, he was actually an at-large commissioner, Mark Ramis, really fought for it. So.
It's truly one of the gems of the Lehigh Valley.
No one would say that now. No one would say close Lehigh Valley Zoo now.
They create a new playground. I saw that they are making a new education wing, and there's also a splash pad or water park component. I mean, it's going to be like, they're going to put Dorney out of business at the rate that they're going. We got great things.
Love Dorney Park too.
Yes. So. Shout out to all of our wonderful institutions.
Yeah. And then the red pandas are there now.
Yes.
Which is incredible.
One of our favorite exhibits to see once we finish making our loop. The thing is, we figured out the strategy as parents, because when we come into the zoo, our older daughter is going to be begging us for the Dippin' Dots ice cream the entire time. So now stop number 1 is immediately stop at the ice cream booth, pick up the ice cream, watch the penguins for 5 minutes while she devours the ice cream, and then we can enjoy the zoo afterwards.
Oh, so Dippin' Dots because no home freezer can keep them as cold as they need to be?
I guess so. Yeah.
It's a physics problem.
Oh, I guess that's right up your area expertise.
To keep its shape and everything, it has to be extremely cold. Nothing at a home. So that's why they're always it's like a baseball game and event thing.
Yeah, I always wondered that one.
Yeah,
so now
that's what I think. That's what I've heard. It just has to be so cold that. Yeah.
So that's why every time I go to zoo, I have to dip into my 401k in order. No, I'm kidding.
It's expensive.
It is expensive.
They got the monopoly on that product, it seems.
Yeah, that's how I guess capitalism works. Speaking of which,
okay,
we're gonna shift gears now. I obviously enjoy so much talking about Superman, Lehigh Valley Zoo. I mean, things that I also share a certain passion for. But I would be remiss if I've been trying to, take a little bit of a cleanse from local politics, especially after the primaries. I know as we get to the general November, I'm going to be back into the candidate interviews. This is not a candidate interview. You're up in 2029, right? So this is just like a nice conversation.
Yep.
But it doesn't mean that...
Let's talk some policy.
Let's talk... Oh, policy, not politics. I like it. So the Morning Call recently reported, I quote, "The Lehigh County Commissioners will hold a public hearing on June 17th. We are recording toward the end of May right now. So in about actually less than a month, on a proposed wealth tax, wealth tax is in quotation marks, that proponents say could generate more than $25.5 million annually by taxing Lehigh County residents who own stocks, bonds, and other assets." So Mark Pinsley, who is currently the county controller, who just won a Democrat primary to run for the PA State Senate 16th Senate district. He is championing this as a wealth tax. And I scrolled down the article and I noticed that you get quoted in there as well. And I take it you weren't such a fan of the wealth tax idea. I mean, I am just a simpleton. I'm reading this thinking, I guess if people are super wealthy and doing great already, can we just tax them a little bit more and they'll still be wealthy and we could fund things? Sounds like a good idea to me. So you're going to explain to me and I guess to Mark and to anyone who's behind it, what's erroneous about this from your perspective?
Yeah. So there's a little bit of history on that one. But I'll start with the general misconception. I noticed you said in quotes, it's not a wealth tax. It's an intangible personal property tax, and it would tax everyone. It doesn't matter if you're someone that's net worth is $500 million or if your net worth is $10,000. Because of uniformity in Pennsylvania, you will be subject to that certain tax. So yeah, it's not a wealth tax that would hit everyone. And in fact, even in Mark's analysis, he picks I don't know why he picked this number, but he picks a $200,000 threshold where he says above this number, 90% of the 25 million I'm saying is coming from, but below that 10% is coming from. So he even acknowledges the fact that everyone that has those assets would be taxed. In particular, it would really hurt seniors that have savings that are not in traditional retirement accounts. That saved a lot for, their retirement, but they have bonds or, they just do stocks on their own. They don't have like a 401k or like a very traditional IRA or something of that nature.
Right. So they're just investing in the stock market, but they didn't put it into a retirement account that would protect it.
Yeah. Yeah. Now the history, which is another issue, like this is honestly probably the larger issue. So that is a law that was made in 1913. And that's where he gets the millage rate from because it's in the statute. So in Pennsylvania, in the Commonwealth, counties can't do things that they're authorized to do, in particular taxes. You have to have authorization to do them before you can actually do them. So the statute states it's a county intangible personal property tax, and it was created in 1913. And then in 1978, it became optional. Slowly after 1978, counties got rid of it. And there's a reason for that. And Lehigh County has its own example of why they got rid of theirs. But then in the 90s, the Annenberg Trust out of Montgomery County, the Annenberg family is a very wealthy family. They started litigating this like crazy. And then they got, in 1998, there was parts of it ruled unconstitutional. And the Annenbergs and many other people got paid back for a 5-year window.
Oh, wow.
And if you look at that case, you'll see like other counties as being listed as, defendants essentially. Don't know the exact term, but they were advocating for Montgomery County, and then CCAP's on there, which is the County Commissioner Association of Pennsylvania.
So they were all parties to the same lawsuit. Yeah.
So essentially. Yeah. That's a better way to put it. And then there was a few more, but by 1998, everyone got rid of it. No county had it anymore. And then 2002, finally, the court said enough, and then they established severability with a clause that violated the interstate commerce. But that statute's laid dormant for 31 years now. It hasn't been touched since 1995. It's obsolete. So there's a lot of things that it's very convoluted and long. It lists all these exemptions of things that you don't have to tax, because when you opt in, you have to follow the statute.
Right.
So it says all these things you don't have to tax, but in 31 years, think of all the new things that have been created.
Yeah.
Aren't even referred to in this statute.
Oh, I mean like all sorts of intangible property?
Yeah. Yeah. Like no one thought of cryptocurrency in 1995. So yeah, it's laid dormant for years. Every county got rid of it by 1998. I think Montgomery and Schuylkill might have been the last counties. Don't quote me on that.
Right.
But Lehigh County got rid of it in 1993, which was former county executive Jane Baker was a huge champion of that. And a huge reason why they got rid of it is you can't enforce it. So counties will never be able to determine who owes what. counties can't access IRS tax returns.
Oh, okay, good. Because you're beginning to answer a question that I was thinking of, which is, I'm asking something. It's going to sound very simple-minded because I don't really comprehend all the technicalities, which is, couldn't they just make a rule, which is if you own X amount of monetary assets, then you are, liable to being taxed more money? Couldn't they just do something
uniformity in Pennsylvania?
So it's a state law.
Yeah, it's in the state constitution, uniformity of taxing and everything. I forget the exact wording, but there has to be uniformity in taxes of classes.
And the state doesn't want to do that.
You would have to change the constitution.
Oh.
That's why everyone has a flat income tax in Pennsylvania.
So you need a constitutional amendment, and based on right now, it's a Democrat House and a Republican Senate. So definitely nothing is being changed in the Constitution anytime soon.
No, and then it would have to go through, I believe, 2 sessions, and it had to be voted on by referendum. So
so that's probably.
I personally, even if someone tried to get you rid of uniformity, I don't think you're going to have the voting population vote to say, yeah, I'm going to raise my taxes.
Right.
I just don't. I think uniformity is here to stay in Pennsylvania.
Now, something our listeners may have picked up on already, but I'm just going to say it explicitly. Those who heard my conversation with Lehigh County Executive Josh Siegel would know that we mentioned that out of how many people are on the Board of Commissioners? 9. You currently are the only Republican commissioner on there. We made a joke about you being the DEI pick. I don't know if you're a big fan, but thank you for being a good sport about it. But what I'm curious is, being the sole Republican on the county Board of Commissioners right now, do you find yourself, kind of being a typical party line Republican, or do you find that either this is just who you are, or you had to adapt a little bit based on the circumstances and the environment of Lehigh County?
I operate the same way I always have. And my goal is to do the best governing possible. I've been Republican my whole life.
What is it about Republicanism that attracted you to it? What principles do you
So I am a fiscal conservative.
That's what I was gathering from our conversation about the taxes.
Mm-hmm. I'm a big proponent of, personal responsibility. I do believe, you have to have safety nets for people, but I'm a big proponent of, the as much as possible that we can allow individual liberty and personal responsibility and less government intervention where feasible and where it's practical is good. And those are my values, but I believe in good governing. I've always been more of a local and Commonwealth state government guy. I have, people that I admire. Some of those people are, I kind of, I got great stories about, Charlie Dent's always been a mentor to me. Pat Brown.
So these are previous, kind of what you call centrist, moderate Republicans.
Yeah,
that served our area here in the Lehigh Valley.
Yeah, I would consider myself, a traditional Republican.
Is that what they call a neoconservative, or I don't know if people like that title.
I don't really, I can't describe, those terms in great detail.
Well, what I get a kick out of is, before we sat down, out of curiosity, I went onto the Lehigh County Republican website, and it shows all the Republican elected officials. It's kind of funny how they structure it, because all the way at the top, there's President Donald Trump and then Vice President J.D. Vance. And then you just scroll down a few people, and then there's Antonio Pineda. So it looks like you guys are all in cahoots with each other.
And who did you mention again at the top?
President Donald J. Trump.
Yeah, and then you went to Vice President.
There's a few more people.
Yeah.
Stacey Garrity, who we had on.
I was just going to say.
Treasurer Garrity is on there.
When you say we're all hanging out together, I've never met President Trump or Vice President Vance.
I had to scroll down a little bit, but it was only a few scrolls till I got to your name.
I have met Stacey, and I've had conversations with Stacey, but that's probably the highest person on that list that I
imagine you guys probably connect a little bit on the fiscal conservatism. She loves her numbers, from what I can tell.
Oh yeah, and Stacey's done a tremendous job as treasurer. She's done a tremendous job in that role. I know she probably talked to you about the work that she's done in the unclaimed property.
Yeah,
she's done tremendous work on that.
She told us about the guitar she has from Guns N' Roses and Red Hot Chili Peppers. I was very excited. I'm a classic rock guy, so I was excited to hear about that. I'm not sure why they didn't make it back to the bands yet, but I'll let her figure that part out. But okay, so because now that I have a little bit of a better idea of kind of where you situate yourself in terms of Republicanism, here's a little bit of a stress test over here, if you will. So WFMZ and the Morning Call as well, but I'll just quote from WFMZ. There was an article, I think it was like a couple of months ago at this point. Lehigh County Commissioners vote 5-4 to adopt anti-fascism measure. So there was apparently a debate on the commissioner level about a resolution to denounce fascism, and there was a 5-4 vote, and you were in the for camp that opposed the anti-fascism measure. I imagine you're probably not a fan of fascism.
Absolutely not.
So
it's abhorrent.
So just help me understand why you opposed it.
So important to note that it was a 5-4 vote. 2 Democrats voted no, 1 independent, and myself. It was highly partisan. It was a direct attack on just Republicans.
What was the assertion?
That Republicans are essentially promoting and supporting fascism, and that the Trump administration was making actions that were fascist,
right?
And that they were being fascist.
So there's something that precipitated this. I mean, Trump has been, I think, as Steve Bannon put it, was his strategy called flooding the zone. So he's been doing a lot of things that have upset the folks on the blue team for quite a while. Was there something new that came up, or that was just the feeling that week?
Well, we have a contingent on the board that is very progressive and left wing, and I think this was something that they wanted to make a statement on. In general, another issue I have is that this isn't our role. It accomplished nothing. We're a county. Why are we talking about federal policies and actions and in general, why are we talking about ideologies?
Right.
And I tried to say like hey, I don't think this is the subject for this board, but why don't we have all come together? And if you looked at the past in the board, like we always talked, and this is the real shame of it for me. So since I've been on the board in 2022, it's always been a Democrat supermajority board.
Right.
We've always worked together very well.
It's been Northampton that's been more purple.
Yeah, they've had more 5-4s in the past, more recently than we have. But we've always we always work together, and most of the time you don't see you couldn't look at that board unless you know the people and pick out what party one person is and what party is the other person. And we had Phil Armstrong, who was a Democrat, who I'm very close with and great friends with, and I admire him greatly. But there was moments in the first summer where people would actually mention like, we don't act like they do in the federal government. We're not, partisan bickering. We're not, throwing mud at each other. Like we're above that.
Yeah. And
we're, it says a lot about this board and the county that we're just governing for, for the people. And that was kind of the unfortunate moment where that kind of ended. And that was really, really disappointing to me because it was, as I said, the most outrightly partisan act that had been done by the board. And it's like I said, it's a resolution, it has no legal binding. And I tried, let's get everyone together. If we're condemning one of the most abhorrent things that was ever created by horrible people and fascism, let's also condemn these other things that are also abhorrent.
Right.
All authoritarianism, which these things still exist in this world, tragically. And that was voted down. In some ways, that told me that the intention of this was partisan, which is a shame. Now, don't get me wrong, I still get along with all my colleagues.
That's good.
We all work well together. I have, we're all friendly with each other. I can't say all like my friends can all hang out with them, but
I did suggest to Executive Josh Siegel that we should all get together for Call of Duty night or something. I thought that'd be a lot of fun.
I haven't played Call of Duty in years, so that won't go well for me.
The Republicans will lose.
Yeah. But a good example is honestly, my best friend on the board is Dan Hartzell. Dan Hartzell and I get dinner after every meeting.
And he's one of the Democrats.
He's a Democrat, yeah. So we're not, this isn't, and honestly, the whole thing about politics in general, in my view, is it's all built on relationships.
Yes.
This idea that it's all this like 24-hour news cycle, everyone's just at each other's throats all the time, is not real.
Well, what do you think? I mean, I think that I appreciate what you're saying, which is there's an element of politics that usually makes the front cover of the newspaper or gets on the evening news. And those are those few moments of grandstanding.
Yeah.
But what people don't appreciate is like what we were talking about, that the county has to focus on, I don't know, something like the Lehigh Valley Zoo and just making sure that, you know, local governance is operating smoothly for the residents of the county. But those are the things that don't necessarily make the paper all the time.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think people misunderstand about the role of a county commissioner?
So a few things. We kind of do the things that are vital, but out of sight, out of mind. You won't interact very frequently with like county government. At least in a way that you're like very aware that you're interacting with. Obviously, when you get your marriage license, you're interacting with county government. But I don't think people don't think, oh, I have to interact with county government right now when they're doing that.
If I were walking down the street and saw you, and I mean this as a compliment, I wouldn't know, like, you know, that was a person holding political office that was walking by.
Absolutely. I say this to you, and this is very blunt, but one thing of advice I give to people, and this is how I govern. This is how my mentality is. I've told a few people that have come on the board since I've been on the board this. It's like, there's one thing I can tell you. They say, hey, there's one thing of advice you can tell me. It's like, realize that you're not important. And I don't mean that in a way that like what we do isn't important. What we do is very important, but us as individuals aren't. So your county government isn't, for lack of a better term, sexy. You know, if you're doing this to get your name in the paper, to propel yourself to another office, you know, to become, you know, to get a large following, this isn't it. You know, when all is said and done, most people don't know who we are. You know, like I try to be as present as I can in my district. I'm very proud of the connections and the relationships I built in my district. If you did a
coach baseball or football,
football.
Yep.
If
you're in the community.
Yeah, I try. I try to do as much. I try to be there as much as I can. But if you did a name recognition poll in my district, I'm getting like 3%. Like it's just the nature of the beast with this, and
because you're focused on doing your job rather than building your brand.
Yeah. So and in the end, you know, once you're not in office anymore, more than likely, people aren't going to remember you. So a question I asked, you know, someone is, can you name all the members of the 1975 Lehigh County Commissioners Board? Most people, and I completely get it, couldn't name one. Most
people can't name the full board of commissioners right now.
Exactly. And you know, there's a few people that have, you know, that have built a legacy. Percy Doherty, who recently passed away, a tremendous man, did a ton for the county. Sterling Raber, who actually was the office I have, is the one that he had. Did a lot for farm preservation, and you know they got you know they're somewhat known, but the general population, if you mention those two names, doesn't know them. And if you come into it with the mentality of, I'm here because I want to be here to govern and do what's best for the county, and not that stuff, you'll do fine.
Wow, that's a great lesson. That's a good lesson for me as well. I appreciate that. And I'm going to ask you to do something that I think you're pushing against, which is, I know you like to focus on the local level, and your whole, the whole past 10 minutes that we were talking was about not, talking about, we don't have to focus necessarily on the federal level and the broader nation, but we are part of that fabric. And I still get to ask this for a little bit longer, so I'm going to milk it for all it's worth.
Okay.
With the 250th anniversary of the United States of America, I want you to take a step back just from the county level and look at America as a whole. What does that 250th milestone mean to you?
So we talked about this before we started. I said this is actually the hardest question because there's a lot to it. The way I view it is so my wife is from China, a country with, forget the exact number she tells me, 5,000 years of history.
Wow.
We are a very young country in the scope of things. Just think about what those people did in 1776 in the grand scheme of the human experience wasn't that long ago.
Huh.
And the tremendous things that they did and the people that followed did weren't that long ago. Not that he was involved in it, but this always pops in my head. Former President John Tyler, his grandson only passed away like 3 years ago.
Huh.
Like you think of things that happened a long time ago, but they weren't that long ago.
Yeah.
We're a constantly evolving country, a beautiful country that has made mistakes, done incredible things, and we're continuing to grow. We're continuing to grow and become better. And the 250th signifies to me just, where we came from, where we are now, and just how much in that short period of time this country's transformed. And I always said this, that I'm hoping that I make it to 300. I really want to make it to that. I'll be in my I'll be in my 80s.
We're roughly around the same age, so don't get me thinking about that.
Yeah, I'll be 85 if I'm doing my math right.
So you got a lot of good work to do until that.
Yeah. So, but it's, we are very blessed to be in this country.
Amen. Commissioner Antonio Pineda, thank you for your time, and I appreciate you joining me as I walk through the valley. Thank you for joining me as I walk through the valley. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to rate and subscribe to our show. If you have questions or would like to book a live recording or have a speaking request, please email rabbi@sonsofisrael.net. This is Moshe Kurtz. I look forward to having you join me next time as I walk through the valley.